to another one of my live stream lectures. And before I get in today's very important lecture, I just want to take a moment to thank all of my supporters and everyone for supporting my YouTube channel. And with that being said, let's get on down to today's lecture. Is the focus of this lecture is going to be know the process. I don't care what you're working on or what goal you're trying to work on or any kind of anything that you're trying to get done, rather it's house, returning back to school, or writing a book, anything that requires steps and processes. There is a process. Even getting a job, there's a process. When you relocate, there is a process. When you're getting ready to travel or plan a trip or go on a vacation, I do a lot of travel abroad. That don't just happen, people. There is a process. So I'm gonna talk about the importance of knowing the process for whatever your situation may be, and going through the steps, getting the correct information from the source to do everything you need to do to reach the finish line. For example, I'm living a minimalistic lifestyle. I've been doing many things behind the scenes for several months, even though I've been living minimalism for about several years, but more extreme minimalism in the past couple of months, meaning I got my camper set up on my half-acre land. I own 15 acres. Of the 15 acres, I had a half acre of the 15 acres clear. That was a process. And I had to do some steps behind the scene, people, before I got my camper out here and set it up. There is you got to go through whatever city you're in. You got to pay contractors to clear that land. You got to have your name on the deed to prove it's your land. You can't just go put stuff out there. But there is a process, people, in anything in your life. There's a process in returning back to school. There's a process in joining the military. I'm a veteran. There is a process that must occur. And in speaking to a lot of people, because I talk to a lot of people in the natural environment, and what I'm noticing and gathering from people of all ages in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, even older, they don't want to embrace and go through the process to achieve whatever goal they want to achieve. That's what you call that microwave society. Don't nothing of value in this world, people. It's just going to happen by itself without going through some steps and going through the process to do what you need to do to make it happen. Even being a content creator, my channel is over 5 years old. It took me 2.5 years to monetize my channel. And there was a process I had to go through to monetize my channel. Doing the criteria during the time my channel got monetized, I believe that content creator had to achieve 1,000 subscribe. I think it was 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers. And of course, adhere to all of the YouTube guidelines. So that was a process that I had to go through to monetize my channel. And at that time, I was still in the workforce, and I can clearly remember, because I've been fully retired now for over 2 years. But when I was going through the process in the journey to monetize my channel, because I say, my God, it took me a whole year. When I can remember as early on in my channel, it took me a solid year to get 100 subscribers. And when I looked at that criteria, needing 1,000 subscribers, in addition to 4,000 watch hours within a 4,000 watch hours within a 365-day time frame. So I can remember the first year of my YouTube channel, at the end of that first year, I had 100 subscribers. And I think I had like 400 watch hours. And I'm looking at these criteria, I'm thinking, ain't no way in the world my channel's gonna ever get monetized. But I had to shift my mindset. And there's a lot of things I did strategically behind the scene going into the second year as a content creator. And one of those things I did strategically behind the scene is every day after work, I would go to a nearby gas station in the real world. after work, and I will be up there for 3 or 4 hours meeting people in the natural environment, marketing my YouTube channel, engaging them in dialogue, and telling them about my channel, engaging them in dialogue in the real world. And I got them to subscribe to my channel. And I'm telling you, I did that for several months. And I was noticing that by me marketing my YouTube channel in the real world and the natural environment, I was noticing I was beginning to get 100 new subscribers in less than a month. Then, and it was like unreal, natural subscribers. Then I hit 200 subscribers, 300 subscribers, 800 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers. But if it wasn't for me in the natural environment for 10 months, every day after work, going to that nearby gas station to get 100 natural subscribers in a month. Mind you now, in that course of a month where I got those 100 natural subscribers in the natural environment every month for 10 months, but I may have approached, no, ain't no made in it, ain't no, I may have approached 150 new people in the real world to get 100 new subscribers in the real world. That was work. It was like I approached it like I was running for office. And that was a process. And that was steps I went through behind the scene to meet that criteria to get my first 1,000 subscribers. My first 1,000 subscribers, because for 10 months I was getting 100 new subscribers by being at that gas station to hit that benchmark of 1,000. My first 1,000 subscribers are the core foundation of my program. Those are people who I met in the natural environment. And I did it for 10 months. And I would engage these people in the day in my zip code. And what I was noticing when I was on that mission, the process, I would run into some of these same people, those 100 people in my zip code, because they knew where I hung out at the gas station. And what I was noticing, I was engaging these natural subscribers in follow-up dialogue. So I'm learning their name. I'm learning about their goals and dreams and aspirations as a person, making it personable. And then as we engage in follow-up dialogue, what I was noticing about these 100 natural subscribers that I was gathering, they was turning my YouTube channel on to people in their household. So now people on the jobs, and I would get a lot of feedback, especially from my lectures. So that's the foundation, people. And I was noticing my subscriber count because I was in that natural environment every day after work for 4 hours for 10 months when going into the second year of my channel, and I hit that benchmark. And I also was noticing, because now it was like a ripple effect. And then I began to notice my watch hours rise and rise and rise and rise. And that's how Marie Holliday monetized my channel. Real talk. Now, I'll get a lot of feedback. That first 1,000 is my core. These people send me feedback on my lectures. They have been supporting me from day one, people. I can't remember all of these names, but they know me. Wrap your mind around that. I was engaging in the natural environment, a minimum on the low end, 100 strangers a month, meaning I was walking up to them, introducing this stranger. I was introducing myself to this stranger, engaging them in dialogue, telling them about my YouTube channel, and engaging them into follow-up dialogue, finding out about them, their goals and dreams and aspirations, how many kids they got, or making it real, people. And that is how I monetize my channel. Those are the steps and the processes that I went through to monetize my channel. And I've done a lot of things as a content creator, but I tell anybody, I always revisit topics in lectures in relation to the core concept of my channel. The core concept of my YouTube channel is that money piece, that financial piece, how to rise above your financial situations. Yeah, I may talk about other topics, but I'm going to always talk about topics that are educational, useful, thought-provoking information to the rural people. When I come in front of these channels, I'm ready to get down to business, and because it is a business. When your channel is monetized, at the end of the year, YouTube, I already got my 1099. YouTube, because we're considered independent contractors, YouTube would send that content curator their 1099 to reflect the amount of money they made for the whole year. So that's evidence it's a business. It's a business. By evidence, violate those community guidelines, YouTube would shut your behind down. So because it's a business, I'm going to embrace that business model. I have a strategic business plan on paper in place in relation not just to my YouTube channel, but in relation to my business, Parents and Associates Resource Center, or in relation to anything that I may be working on. You better believe my strategic business plan has, on the far left of that business plan, it's going to have goals. It's going to have measurable goals. And in the middle of that strategic plan, I'm going to write down 3 specific objectives that link to the goal. Objectives are actions, steps that I must take as a person, not just in relation to my YouTube channel, in relation to anything that I'm working on in life, rather it's business or personal. I'm going to have it written down on my strategic business plan. And on the far right of that business plan, strategic business plan, I'm going to have a projected due date. I'm going to have a deadline to reflect on the projected due date on when the goal will be achieved. Because if you don't have a projected due date with measurable objectives and a goal written down that link to the objective with a projected due date, because that projected due date is going to hold you accountable to do what you're going to say that you're going to do, those action steps in the middle of that strategic business plan. That projected due date is going to hold you accountable so you can, in reference to what you say you're going to do. Real talk, people. And I tell anybody, that is part of the process in relation to any goal in this world. I've been strategic all my life. I've been writing down goals since I've been 5 years old, people. I've always been goal focused. So, and that ties into the process. I'm in the process behind the scenes strategically to do what I need to do to take my next trip abroad to Paris. I took a guided tour to Cairo, Egypt. I took a guided tour to Rome in Italy to be able to walk inside of those ancient pyramids, breathtaking, to be able to ride on the biblical Nile River that predates Christ. That was breathtaking. To walk inside of the Vatican in the Colosseum, that was breathtaking. In order for me to travel abroad, I got to go through a process to take that guided tour, collaborating with my travel agent, having appointments with my primary doctor, because when you travel abroad, depending on where you go in this world, there's certain shots that you have to have before you take your behind abroad. That doctor is going to ask you where in the world you're going if you got a good doctor. And then they're going to inoculate you based on where you're going in this world. Real talk, people, which is a step in a process. Real talk. People need to understand, any goal that you want to achieve in this world, you got to understand that there is a process. There are steps that you're going to need to have to go through, and go to the source. Go to the source to find out what paperwork you need, what steps you need to go through, versus hearsay, versus listening to people who ain't going through the door. Real talk. And I've always known that. I don't go off hearsay. If whatever steps I got to go through, I'm going to go through the appropriate stakeholder, the appropriate source to find out what I need to do. Versus Googling something online. No, take your behind to the source and find out what you need to do and follow the steps and do it. No different from monetizing your YouTube channel. YouTube, the stakeholder, Google, will guide you through the process with all of that information to monetize your channel. And once your channel get monetized, it ain't over. Because I believe my channel has been in a whole nother stratosphere of people for the past couple of years. I don't even keep count anymore. I don't even keep count of anything. All I do as a content creator now is come in front of these cameras and get down to business. Everything got to take care of itself. Because as a content creator, if you're worried about watch hours and subscribers and how much money you make or don't make, or ad revenue or contracts you get, then if you just focus in on that, then you're going to lose your true focus on delivering information, thought-provoking, educational, inspiring, uplifting, useful information to the world, people. Real talk. My YouTube channel is going to outlive me. It's going to outlive me. So but I can remember in the early days, I ain't gonna lie, in the early days of the birth of my channel, I was one of those content creators, worried about watch hours, worried about getting monetized, worried about subscribers, I don't worry about none of that anymore. If a person want to subscribe, they subscribe. If a stakeholder want to go into a contractual agreement to pay me to run the ads across my channel, because as your channel get monetized, I tell anybody the real money is when you start getting those brand deals. My channel became monetized for brand deals in 2024. That's where the real money is. But that don't mean I'm gonna say yes to every stakeholder who seek me out to go into a contractual agreement to pay me money to run their product and services across my channel. Because if your mission goals and objective ain't in line with mine, I don't want the contract. Real talk. All money ain't good money. That's why I tell people, you got to understand the steps in the process with anything in life. And that's real talk. I meet people all the time. I meet all ages. I had a conversation with a person that I met, a conversation, just listening. And the person basically told me that her husband has worked all his life. He has not been able to work for 2 years. And when I'm just listening to her, and she's the only source of income, and I'm just listening to her telling me about her situation and how her husband medically cannot work anymore, medically for 2 years. And so my thought-provoking question that I asked her is, have you gone through the process for your husband to apply for a disability? If your husband has worked all his life, don't pay it into the pot, and now medically he is not able to work anymore, got medical documentation, it sounds like, I'm not an expert, that you need to go to the Social Security Administration, and they will guide you through the process to see, does he qualify for disability if he worked all his life. If that man don't work all his life, now he can't work with power poles. Work with power poles all his life. Now he got all this. And she said, no, we have not. I said, what? She said, literally, when she said no, I said, wait a minute, I'm hearing you correctly? You mean to say y'all hadn't even looked into it? It's been 2 years and you've been struggling and paying all the bills by yourself, and your husband ain't been able to work because all these medical stuff going on for 2 years, and prior to that he worked all his life. I'm no expert, but I will at least look into it, go to the source. It sounds like to me your husband should qualify for something. He's been put out of work medically by a medical doctor. It's people in their 20s getting disability, and they ain't worked no 20, 30 years. So I had to say it to her 3 times. She said, well, no, I ain't done it yet, da-da-da-da. And I heard other folks had a hard time getting in, and she kept talking about what she heard about with other folks. And I had to say again, if I was you, I will go to the Social Security Administration office to get the ball rolling with your husband going through the process to see, can he get some type of Social Security disability. I had to see it 3 times, maybe 4 times. And she kept saying, well, I heard about how other people say you can't get it and they get it. I said, but have you gone to the source? And her answer was no. And finally, after I said it about 4 times, she kept talking about what other people told her. I said, well, has anyone else told you to go down to the Social Security? Oh, well, no, they just was telling me how hard of a time it is to get it. I said, I'm going to say it again. It sounds like you and your husband need to go down and get the ball rolling. And I say this real to say the importance of a process. The steps is so important. Anything that you want to do, go to the source. Because I had to finally tell, I said, you know, your husband might be missing out on income. I mean, that's all I know. I mean, I know enough to know to go to the source. I know enough because I remember when my mother got sick. I was a young woman. I remember when my mother got sick and was put out of work medically and could not return back to work at the age of 49. Way back then, I knew enough to know to take my mother down to the Social Security Administration office. And because of what was going on with her, she got her disability like that. She had worked all her life. That's all I know. Go to the source. Don't be short. I had to tell her that several times. So I say that to say it is so important to go through the process on anything you're working on, gather the correct information from the stakeholder. Don't go off by what other people say and get their input, especially someone who has not gone through the door. It kills me how a lot of times when you be talking about steps and processes to people and they want to give their input. And sometimes I ask, have you gone through this process? Have you gone through these steps? Whether it's buying a house or buying a car or getting a credential in the military or starting your own business or getting your LLC. If you ain't going through the door, then I'm a little baffled because I'm real big on processes. When I'm talking to people just in the natural environment about anything that I may have a question about, from anything from A to Z, and I'm always going to ask, once I listen to people for a good 30 minutes, have you gone through that step or process? Have you achieved that goal, etc.? And when they say no, I still listen, but I'm the type of person, again, I'm going through to the source. I'm going to the source, or I will take input from a person who has gone through that specific door. Real talk. That gives you more credibility. That gives you more credibility when you have gone through the door. And I tell anybody that if you ain't going through the door, then you ain't really got no credibility. No, I'm gonna listen more so to people also, in addition to going to the stakeholder, if they going through the door. Can't nobody tell me, because I'm a veteran. I went through Desert Storm, United States Marine Corps during Desert Storm era when it was no Big Brother. Paris Island wasn't no joke back then. And anybody in that era know what I'm talking about. And that is a process I had to go through. There's some similarities now in 2026 when people are transformed into a Marine, but there's a whole lot of differences. And the big difference during my era is it was, all I can say is some things I went through I probably won't ever remember. And to see people lose their lives in basic training, that's real talk, people. So that is a process I went through. There is a specific steps I had to go through to be transformed from a civilian to a United States Marine and got my honorable discharge, my service connected. There's steps and processes I had to go through to earn that title. Real talk, because the back then they show was not just giving it to you. So again, share this information. And I see a lot of people who are chiming in. Look like a lot of folks are chiming in on my live screen lecture. I do want to appreciate that very much. Again, my channel will not be where it's at today without all of my supporters. You know, I'm really excited in relation to the direction God is taking my channel. God is guiding my steps, people. It's God is guiding my steps. I want to thank God for propelling my channel to a whole nother stratosphere. I want to thank God for giving me the knowledge and the skills to bring my knowledge and skills onto the world. Real talk. That's all I have. Simple fidelity, and I want to leave you in the care of your own conscience. Have a great day.